Welcome to the particle class for Virtual Animation Discord. My name is Goro Fujita, and today I'm going to cover multiple ways to do particles, particle effects, and impact effects and stuff like that. Anything that will help you to enhance your Quill illustrations. So let's get started. So I have like a prepared file here, like this guy here, because I wanted to have some visuals, how you can add particles to your scene. And then first I want to start with a very simple thing. So this might be like not new to you, but I just wanted to I covered like particles before, but it was always together with some live stream lesson or something, and live stream freestyle session, I mean. And today I want to focus more on a structured way to show you how to use different techniques to create these particles. So the most obvious choice first is like animbrush, right? Animbrush here, you can do something like wind. But for example, for the wind, I'm going to grab this guy, add maybe like 12 frames or something, and start a little bit of wind wiggle, right? Because like I want to showcase like how strong the wind is. So, he's like in the wind here. I'm just using that nudge tool. Very easy here. 12 frames is easy enough to create like a wind effect, and then maybe I will grab him a little bit and he's like fighting the wind. So this looks already pretty cool, right? But then I'm going to create a new layer here and maybe make 24 frames. 24 frames is 1 second if you have 24 frames per second, which is default. You hit loop, and this is not new to you. You can just animate some wind. So here you can change the brush duration, and this will instantly tell you. You can just do like some little twirls and stuff like that, And this together with sound will create like this crazy feel of like strong winds, right? So this is like a super easy way to, you can bring down the opacity maybe, and then it really feels like wind. Let me hide the topics here in the background. But this is like an easy way to do visualization of like wind, right? Same technique if you have like maybe dust on the ground, dust will move a little bit slower. So maybe I will use 2 seconds, which is about 48. Boom, 48. I loop it. And for any effect, I will always try to make it divisible by 6, 12, 24, and so on. Just because if I decide to merge it for optimization purposes, you see that the loop points always match, right? So this is like really important. So even if I go 2 seconds, so we have 6, we have 12, we have 24 and 48, and you will be all able to merge them into one layer if you want to reduce draw calls. So this is like very, very important. So this is like the wind or gusts. Let me call that like this, and then this one will be smoke. I called it smoke and fire, but we will just do smoke. It's not very new to you anyway, but I wanted to cover this in this class. So I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna change the brush duration to a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna make some smoke or dust on the ground, moving. And this is how easy you can use the animbrush to really create the illusion of these particles going through the scene, right? So to enhance this, you can also duplicate this layer, the whole layer. Oops, not merge, duplicate. And then I can just move it up a little, just a little lighting trick. And I think I changed, oh no, I just see the onion skinning. So let me turn off the onion skinning, and let me select all the secondary smoke that I duplicated over time. Now I have all frames, and then I'm going to color dodge it, for example. And then I have a lighting layer, right? So this way, it looks like now it's consistent with his lighting, and the smoke is lit. It's freaking lit. Okay, so now I can merge it into one layer, and you can see if I want to merge it, you want to make sure to merge from the longest animation first. The reason is this is 48 frames. When you merge it down with the gust and with a this is the guy. Let me call him guy. It's like, and I called this wind. I don't want to merge it with a guy yet, but okay, so let's say I want to merge smoke and wind. If you do it like this, the wind will crop the loop right here. So it's always important to merge from the top down, from the longest down. Does it make sense? So when I merge this down, what happens is it loops this section until it reaches a loop point. So I don't have to worry about this getting cropped because the loop point is the same. However, if this animation would be like this, and I merge it, it will get cropped here and you will see a jump in the loop, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna merge this down, boom, and now you see the animation stayed the same, only the transparency returned to 100% of the wind, you know, because it takes the transparency of the transparency settings of the parent layer that you merged it with. So now I can bring it down as well, and you can see this looks really cool. So this is like the simplest version of particles. Another thing you can do is let me start a new layer. So let me hide these assets, and I'm gonna create a line brush tool. A line brush stroke. So what I like to do is I use the line brush with a sphere tip, and then you can see like this is like pretty dense, and I optimize it first full on, right? So the reason why I do it like this and not like this, if it's small and I optimize this, it tends to like lose shape much more. So if I do like this, this worked. So let me see. Yeah, if I have something like this as a particle and I optimize this, it already worked again. Well, sometimes it just breaks the shape. Yeah, see, this is not what you want, right? So you want to maintain the shape at the optimum level. So the way to do it is like just make a big brush stroke first and then optimize it, right? So this is going to be one particle. So to make distribution easier, because I can just grab it and duplicate it like this, but I have to reach in, I'm going to create a new layer for a new group layer first, use the transform, and then I can grab anywhere, right? Because it's like transforming the layer. So I make sure I rotate it every time I duplicate. So the distribution is uneven, and then I just merge it, and now I have this whole thing on one layer, right? And then I do the same spiel that I usually do. So you remember I create markers. Let me turn off the wireframe here. Let me create these markers here, and then I'm gonna duplicate. Select and duplicate. So select everything, duplicate. I do that a few times. And then I create a new layer here. Let me create a marker here. This is where I want to match the loop. And then I'm going to create a group here and animate the group. Keyframe here. Another transform keyframe here. And I'm going to move this loop one segment back, right? Just like that. That's good enough. And then I'm going to loop it, make the parent group a sequence and loop it here. And it's already set to linear, so make sure for loops you want it to be linear here, you know, for like endless loops. So now you can see it's already working. So at this point, you can just delete these markers. I don't need this marker layer anymore. And I can move this wherever I want. There's more markers over here. So let me remove them. And now if I remove the grid, I have steady particles, right? So this is like a way to do like steady particle animation, like if you're in water or something like that, you know, or a star field or an asteroid field, you could do it like this. Right, and this is super efficient because it's just 2 keyframes. You know, if you want to enhance the speed, all you need to do is change the loop point and put the keyframes closer together, and then it becomes like this. If you want to make it even faster, bring it even closer together and change the loop point, and boom, right? And you get like this really cool effect.
This is awesome.
So this is like super easy, right? Then the next thing I want to do, so this is like, let's call it steady.
And remember, once you have one of those, you can always bake it and do any transforms once the animation is turned into a baked.
Yeah, this is what I'm gonna cover next, Daniel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right, because this is gonna be my favorite thing, and something that Faith asked about, and I wasn't able to show it until today, so I'm excited to be able to show it. Is Faith here?
Yes, I am here.
Awesome. So this is like, at some point you asked me, how do you do those particles? You know, it's killing me or something like that. And I'm going to show you how to do this. So this one's for you. All right, so let me put this here. So this one is really awesome, right? Like you've seen like in my pieces sometimes, I have like those smooth moving particles, and I'm gonna show you how to do this now. So I have apparently, I always animate groups if you use transform keyframes. That's like, you know, this is a lifesaver because you never know if you want to use the group again for another animation or if you want to use it for baking, just like Yari does, you know, when he puts something back into the group. If you keyframed a layer, then you're doomed because then you have to redo animations. So make sure you only keyframe groups. So I'm going to nest it under another group here. I want like multiple rotation pivots. So what I'm going to do is like here, I have a pivot here, right? So I can rotate this guy through this pivot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly angle it, something like this, create a keyframe, and over 4 seconds, let me do a 4-second loop because 1, 2, 3, 4 would be a good rhythm, right? So let me go to 4 seconds, create a keyframe, and then rotate it. So now we have this animation. Make sure that it is linear, because if it's not linear, you will have ease in and ease out, which is not how particles that float in water work, right? They usually have a constant velocity. So make sure for a good look, you make it like so. Okay, let me move this higher up, and you can even move it, translate it a little bit. So now we have like a really cool arc, right? So now, but this will look super static because, you know, like you still have just one direction. So now what you're gonna do is you create a keyframe here on the group on top and do the same thing, but you rotate across another pivot. Maybe something like this. So you can rotate. Maybe, let's see. I'm just trying, yeah, maybe we can rotate this way. So once we have set the pivot, then we rotate this way. And maybe we rotate this way a little bit too. So what this does, it's just changing the trajectory of the particle, see? And now it looks like even more random instantly. So you can keep nesting layers on top of this and make it even more, right? So now maybe we put one here, keyframe here, and then we rotate maybe like this. And now you see that the particle has a very natural movement, right? And maybe we can make it even more extreme here. Let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now what I want to do is also set opacity keyframes. I set one keyframe here, and I'm gonna make sure it matches with the loop point. So one keyframe here, one keyframe here. And then I'm gonna reduce transparency. And what this does now, it fades in the particle. Let me turn off the wireframe at this point. So we have like a really nice flying particle, right? And then it fades out. So this is really cool. So now what I want to do is to create a sequence and bake this particle. But because I don't want the particle to start right away at 4 seconds, again, loop, I start the loop at 5. So when I start the loop at 5, you will see, I didn't do the loop. I just changed it to a sequence. Loops, okay. So we have 3, 4, it disappears, 1, and then it starts again. So there's like a little gap in between, right? So this is really good. Did somebody call my name?
Hey, Goro.
Yes.
Does adding an empty layer, that group layer at top, does that add a draw call if there's nothing in that layer?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like groups don't add draw calls anyway. Groups are not draw calls, but if you
Okay, got it.
yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
if you create like let me see, we have like 3 right now. If I create 1, it shouldn't do because it's not calling anything, right?
I thought.
So,
okay,
yeah,
so that's great.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have a 5-second loop. What I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna bake it. Boom, right? So it baked it, and it's pretty small. So now I have a frame-by-frame animation of this. So let me hide the topics right now. So I have this really cool loop, right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna create a new group, put this in there, and do what I did before. I'm gonna start duplicating, and I'm gonna turn on the onion skin and turn on all onion skins, so I know how the direction is changing. So I'm just like rotating the crap out of this. Okay, so now I have this, right?
Wow.
So this is pretty cool, but you see that they like all basically fade out at the same time. It looks like super static, right? So I need some variation. What do? What I told Tyler last week in his stream, what you can do to offset these type of things is you can't offset it like this, because if you merge it, it will merge the full length of each animation. So what you have to do is you trim them from the left, right? So you trim them, and you trim them randomly. Doesn't matter. Maybe I trim it like this. And you don't want it to trim the same way you trimmed the other ones, so make sure that they're different enough. Maybe this one just trims a little bit like this. And keep the top one at the original length. So this is not like crazy important because you're not altering the animation or anything, but it's just good to know how long your loop actually is. Because if you merge it down from the top now, boom, 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 boom. Now you get this.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So what's even more awesome is this. So now you duplicate this a few times or scale it down and do the same thing again, right? Boom, 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 and hit play, and you get this.
Wow.
The power of freaking science.
So this is like how you can do a hand animated particle simulation. It's not a simulation, actually, particle animation, right? So
I have a question.
yeah,
When you merge down the offset layers,
yeah.
how do you manage that they don't? Because there should be a jump, right? If they're offset.
No, they don't jump because it maintains the structure of the animation. It just puts every in between the way it was offset, if that makes sense. So for example, let me show you. Like,
I see.
so if I merge this down, right? If I merge this down, it will still work. See?
Yeah.
But what this did is it trimmed it. So I have to get the full length, I have to trim it out again to see the whole animation. But it's not altering anything because the length of the animation stays the same. It just respects the offset. So it's smart like that, which is like really, really cool. Right? Does it make sense?
Yeah, that was great.
Daniel is struggling.
I still don't, because I feel like they should jump.
So
Because you're merging offset animations.
So the thing is like, okay, let me show you. If I offset it like this, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And if I merge this, it merges it here. So the animation is a perfect loop still, right?
Oh,
Just because
still
it's offset doesn't mean that.
It goes back to the actual next frame.
Yeah, exactly. Because if this was like this, then I would break this one.
Yeah.
Right? This one would stay fine and it will just hold, but this one will jump weirdly, right? So, but because the length, that's why it's important that everything is the same length, because the whole animation, regardless if it's offset, this frame equals this frame.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So the moment you merge, it just stays the same.
Yep.
Okay.
It looks amazing. It looks really, really smooth. Amazing.
Right? And then the thing is, like, once you have this, like, that's why I love this so much, because like it's so easy to do, right? But once you have this, you can go ahead and just do this, and now you have more, right? More and more and more, and it will like look completely organic, right? And you can immerse yourself in here, and it's like the best thing ever.
And because it's frame by frame, you can do these tricks where you can change the color on one part of the particles.
Totally. Like, so let's do that right now, right? So I go to red or something, go full throttle.
Yeah, you can do things like that, yeah.
Oh, cool. Whoa.
Yeah. Sparkles.
Yeah. That's cool.
There we go.
Scaring me with this.
Whoa.
And even you can do the trick where you select all the frames and then like one part of the particles is brighter than the other part and whatever.
Totally.
Yeah,
And I
a
mean,
lot of stuff.
yeah, I mean, you could, of course, like also go frame by frame and change everything and stuff, like change the scale and stuff like that. But this is like a really cool method that I love using. It adds so much to your scene. And if you look at the size of it, it's only 7,000 polygons,
That is fancy.
Fancy stuff. Okay, so let me turn on the thing again. Okay, we have the dust particles with transform keyframes. That's what it was right now with transform keyframes and bake. So let me call this dust. It's almost like pixie dust.
I feel like it could be cool to do one of those and save it for reusing later in other scenes.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time, but I don't save it. I just bring in an old scene and I just delete everything but the particles. Yeah. That's how I do it. Yeah, because it's super easy to do, right? But it's easy enough to do on the fly too. But you're totally right. Like I bring them in all the time. It's like super easy once you have it, And then you can also change the opacity to like 25 or something, And then
looks good, man.
And then it looks really nice. Okay, so let's go to, we're like not even half an hour in. Okay, I think I can get easily through all of these. Okay, we have steady particles, we have dust. Let's get to bubbles. So I want to show you guys another technique I like to use and I used for my classified research project piece where the monster's in that tube. So let me do that. So this was like, this is the dust. Original, and okay, let me create a new folder. Okay, so now I'm gonna create a bubble, right? So bubbles, people also ask me like, how do you do bubbles? And it's actually pretty easy. You just need to know how they work, right? So you don't even have to paint a sphere. And this bubble only works to camera. but it will work beautifully. So,
Yeah, that's exactly how I did my bubbles on the whale.
Oh, yeah.
scene.
Yeah,
They're-
it's just a
They're 2D.
yeah, it's just a trick, you know, and then you just add like a little highlight here. Oop.
Yeah.
And then you add a little bit of colorization. Let me turn down the opacity.
Actually, I did a little ball, but transparent, and I drew the lines on top of the ball.
Oh, okay, to be more accurate. I'm gonna be sloppy. This is gonna look perfect.
No,
See?
no, I look the same actually.
Okay.
I look really good.
All right. So, and you're gonna no, it doesn't work quite well from this side, but that's fine. Okay. So now we have this bubble, and as usual, like I always create a master folder. So in case I duplicate the crap out of things, then I don't end up with like this huge list of things that I have to like push back in manually. This way, let me create another group. Oops, did I do? I didn't do anything. Okay, so I always create a master group because that helps you keep things organized, right? Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is instead of keyframing, I'm gonna puppeteer this bubble. Right. So what I'm going to do is like hide the topics first, bring back the grid so I know what the ground is. And then I'm going to hit the record button here. And then I'm going to go to, let's say, 1, 2, maybe 2 seconds. 2 seconds might be enough. So I go to 2 seconds and I hit the bracket here. This, for people that don't know what this is just defining the work area. So if I hit play, it will stop right there. I can also loop the work area where it just loops the section selected. And the good thing about this, I'm gonna cover that later for another particle effect that I'm going to show you. But basically this allows you to set an AB point. You can even grab the brackets here and then it will only loop within this section. This is not going to alter any of your sequences or loops. This is just purely visual and purely editorial. It's not going to affect any of your scene. This is just to basically repeat sections. When you have a long narrative like Remedy or something, you don't want to always look for stuff. So let's say you want to edit minute 1 to minute 1:15, you can set the range to that portion and then only play back the section. So that will allow you to basically work on specific areas, especially if you have long narratives. This is like super useful to have. Okay, so I'm gonna set the duration to 2 seconds, but I don't want it to loop. So I do this so I can basically know exactly when the animation stops, right? So I start recording now. Any movement here, because this is recording is on, any movement will create a keyframe, right? So now I hit play and I puppeteer the bubble up, right? Let me delete the first frame here and then move this back. So now I have this puppeteered bubble. This looks pretty good. I can probably just extend it to 2 seconds. Let's see what it looks like. That looks good. You know what? Let me bring that down a little to make sure that it's a good spacing there. And you see it's evenly spaced. This looks pretty good. Okay, now I do the same thing here where I go to the transparency. I select a key, set a keyframe here, set a keyframe here, and make it go transparent. Same thing here. Make sure the recording is turned off. And now I have like this bubble going up. Just like this. It's pretty cool, right? I remove the brackets and I want to maybe loop it at 3 seconds. Give it extra slack. Right? Now I can make the parent group a sequence, loop it, and now I get this. All right, this is pretty cool. And now I just bake the bubble. Boom. Now it's baked. Now this is frame by frame, a frame by frame bubble, right? Now I'm going to start doing the same thing here. And I'm going to use the green square here to duplicate things around so they stay parallel to the floor. But I can also freehand it, you know, as long as you keep it like pretty straight, you can just freehand the stuff. Freehand the bubbles, and then I do the same thing here. So I don't overdo it, so I don't have to like offset like tons of frames. So I'm gonna do something like this. Trim them just like what I did with the particles before, right? I actually overdid it. Okay, let me delete some of these. I'm too lazy to merge them all, so this is good. Okay, and then I'm gonna merge them all. And now you see the bubbles are all offset. If I hit play, you get this. Nice, huh? And then what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna duplicate it, maybe scale it, duplicate it, scale it, scale it, scale it down. I'm overdoing it again. It's so easy to do, you know, it's so fun. So.
Yeah.
But let me just do this. Let me make it bigger.
I guess there's an option. I mean, you don't have to bake it if you don't want to, because sometimes you want to keep that really smooth.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, yes, but then you will have tons of draw calls.
Yes, I know.
Right? So you get this.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This saves you draw calls for sure.
I mean, this is just 2 draw calls right now, right?
Yeah.
So each bubble would be a draw call. So this one would be probably already like 100 draw calls or something, you know?
Yeah.
So you want to like avoid that if you can. But this is how you can do bubbles, right? And they look all different. And it was puppeteered. So it was like, this time it was not keyframed, it was just puppeteered. And let me hide the grid. It looks really, really cool. All right. And then you see it's 86,000. This is unoptimized. But if I optimized at maximum, boom, you don't see a difference because it's moving. You only had 31,000 now, right? And then just duplicate this, make it bigger.
Oh, so many bubbles.
Yeah. And then you get like this cool effect of underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is bubbles. Pretty cool. Let's see what else we have here. Rain and snow.
So,
Yes.
Goro, just on the when you were doing the puppeteering,
Yeah.
Normally, well, I guess with looping, deleting that last puppeted keyframe is necessary, but when it's not looping, then you just sort of made an adjustment to it.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is, like the range, you don't really need to use the range, right? But I did the range so I have a reference point on how long it is. So in theory, what I could do is also, well, in this case, it's not even looping because the loop doesn't really matter because I'm making it transparent at the end. So you actually don't need to even have that threshold. So let's see, like I do something like this, I animate it and then I move it up like this, right? Now I have this movement. So here, where did I, transform keyframes. Okay, I didn't animate the group now, but you see I started the animation later. So all you can do is like grab everything and move everything back. And now it's gonna be a fine looking, like this is gonna be an animation that you can use. The only reason why I did the limitation is now this is an arbitrary time point, right? So I would have to like go to 2 seconds if I want it to be divisible, because I want to make sure that I can merge it at any time. Then I would have to like delete these, right? And then if I set the limit in advance, then I know that it will stop here. But you want to remove the last keyframe and reset it, because if you set a range here, the last keyframe might be somewhere here because you moved your hand after it stopped. That's the only reason why you want to delete it, because the last keyframe might not match the spacing with the ones before. So you just delete the last one and move this one forward or something like that. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right, let me go to rain and snow. Ha, I love rain. So rain is something I showed before, but to some people it might be new. So I'm gonna create a new group here, master layer. This is the master group, rain. What's the time? We're like 35 minutes in. That's perfect. We'll leave enough time for everything else. So for the rain, I tend to use like the flat brush, all right? And the flat brush is like super easily optimized. And I make sure that, let me show the grid, that it's perpendicular to the grid, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a few line brush strokes like this. I don't wanna make it too dense. It can be like pretty spaced out like this. And then I'm gonna make sure I also have some other angles. Other angles meaning this angle versus this angle, right? Because the line brush snaps to 90 degrees. So I want to make sure that from this angle you see like thick and thins. From this angle you see thick and thins as well. So let me turn off the topics here. So this is pretty good. And then I'm going to just duplicate here a few. So now I have, let me add a few gap fillers here. And then I can optimize it. Boom. And it's like super small already. Let me remove some here. This looks good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I duplicate it, rotate it, and I create a rain volume. All right. So I select like some random strokes here, rotate them a little, and I make sure that I always use the gimbal so every stroke stays perpendicular to the ground. This is like important, right? Because if I do something like this, then it doesn't work anymore. So make sure that you use the gimbal here to move things. Even if you rotate, make sure you only rotate parallel to the ground floor, to the grid. Okay, this is like a pretty cool rain volume, but make sure also you vary the heights so you don't see duplications, right? So this is, let me make this a little bit wider, and then always rotate so it doesn't look like it's mirrored or rotated. I mean copied, you know, it is rotated. Okay, this is like a good rain volume. So obviously you could animate the rain with an animbrush and stuff like that, but then you will waste like unnecessary geometry and it might not look good, right? So alternatively, you could do what I did with the wind. Maybe 12 frames is enough for a rain loop. And then you turn on the animbrush to a very short duration and you just do play, and then you just do this. Oh, I have the range. Okay, now. But it's really hard to keep the hand still or straight, right? It's basically impossible. But if this is the look you're aiming for, that's fine. You know, this looks like a certain type of rain, or you want it to be chaotic and stuff, or more like the wind I did, you know, then it makes sense to do it with animbrush. What I'm going to show you is a steady rain cycle. All right. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to create a new layer, new group, put the rain layer into the group, and then make sure this is like kind of in the center. If it's not, reset pivot. Yeah, this rotates well throughout the center. So that's why it's also important that this is like a fairly even volume. You see like this is a little bit, this is almost like rectangular right now. Ideally, you want it to be more like within a square volume. This is good enough though, because if you look at the rotation, it will rotate fairly evenly. Let me turn off the grid so you can see it still rotates fairly evenly throughout the center. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is create a key. Let me turn off the grid. So I'm going to turn off the record because I'm just going to manually keyframe. I set a keyframe here and I go 2 frames forward. And the reason why I go 2 frames forward is I want the rain to animate on 2s and not on 1s, because on 1s it might be a little bit too aggressive. So what I'm going to do is like, I'm actually going to turn on recording again, and I rotate this randomly. Go 2 frames forward, rotate it randomly. Go 2 frames forward, rotate it again. Go 2 frames forward, rotate it again. Not a specific value, something random. Rotate it back. And I have, let me go to 12 frames. So 12 frames, because I want this to be also a multiple of 6, right? Always the same length. So you can always merge whenever you want. So if I hit play, it will look weird, right? Because it's animated with linear interpolation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to stepped. What that does, and I'm going to set the loop to here. Now it looks like rain. So what that does is it jumps directly to the keyframes. So this is on 2's animation, right? And it rotates enough that the audience cannot tell the rotation. So it just looks like it's randomly changing shape. And you would think, oh, but Goro, rain needs to fall though. But you don't actually have to do this. This is like a trick they use in CG. You don't have to follow the line with rain. If you have enough movement and you stay in there, it actually looks like rain. Right? So this is like one cool way to do it. And then you turn off the transparency a little bit, turn it down. And then on top of that, you can now make maybe like a 12 frame cycle, loop it, and do the impacts with animbrush, right? And here again, you have the impact, right? Oops. Why don't you duplicate it around? What's going on here? I think it is happening, but it did something. I think it looks strange. Let me see what's going on. Maybe I scaled it down. Let me do this again.
That's really cool. I mean, it's funny how step keyframes give you the illusion of falling drops.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting because they fall so fast. The eye cannot see the actual movement.
You assume it's the same.
Yeah, and I give you a thing. Maybe the illusion would be even more effective if there was a little bit of a gradient on the top part of each drop, like a gradient to transparent.
Totally, yeah.
Because that will give you the effect of like a motion blur, kind of thing.
Right.
So that will give you even more of the effect of the eye cannot catch the movement because it's so fast.
Yeah,
that's why it's blurry. Yeah,
totally. Goro.
Yeah.
If you wanted to add, I tried to do this once and I couldn't figure it out. If I wanted to just so you did the impact. What if I wanted to add like a little ripple, like you know how like circular ripples expand? Where say that water was hitting.
You would just have to
do that.
You would just have to animate it frame by frame, right? You just do this.
Do a circle and expand it and then duplicate.
Yeah. So let me.
Can you do? Let me do transform key circle expanding.
You could, but then it gets thicker and stuff like that, you know. So out of experience, it usually tends to look better if you actually do frame by frame animation, you know, because but you could obviously, you know, and maybe here you have this.
I wanna try that someday. Just to do a circle and use transform keys to expand it. And kind of cycle loop that and see how that looks.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like the possibilities are limitless, right? So it's like so cool what you can do, you know, already. And then I mean there's like so many ways to do certain things, you know. So let me do this little quick and see. I have trouble multitasking right now, but I think this will look pretty good. Right? So you have this, and now what you do is you just duplicate the crap out of this,
And you
right?
don't even move that.
And now you offset it, right? So
Yeah.
now you offset it. So make sure, because I used the hold frame here, now you can't merge this because it will jump, right? So you would have to fill up all the frames for it to merge properly. But now you have like those little impact things, right? And so I would just do it frame by frame.
Yeah.
So just to
Especially
cover,
when it's so fast, you don't need
yeah,
smooth.
just to cover what I just said, just so it makes sense. In this case, you would have to create like empty frames like this, and then merge it. So the main animation is, so before I start duplicating this, so now the main animation is already like this, and then I start duplicating it. That way they're all the same length, they don't have a hold frame, and then I'm able to just offset them the way I want, if that makes sense. And then I can merge them, and then they look all offset, right? Mm-hmm. So you can use the same thing for, okay, we're like 45. Yeah, I think that's good. You can use the same technique for snowstorm. You can't use it for snow. So if you want to do like a regular snow, you would have to do like a maybe 2-second animation or something, and do
bubble
it
thing reverse.
Either that, or because snow is easy enough to do. Oops.
Animbrush it.
Yeah, animbrush the crap out of it, right?
Yeah. Snow looks really good with animbrush.
Wee, wee, wee. Snow. So this is like how you can do snow, and then you can duplicate this, you know, and boom, boom, and then merge, 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 merge. Oops. And merge, merge, and then you have snow, right? So this is how fast you can do snow, and you see a little bit of rhythm there because I did not offset it before merging. If I would offset it, it would look super organic, right? So this is like an easy way to do snow. You can literally do that in like 20 seconds. But if you want to do a snowstorm, you can use a similar technique like this, where you basically create, I'm going to create a new group, new layer, and then you do something like this. Hey, okay, this is going to look crappy, but it's fine. Let me see. It might not look good, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just randomize it.
Yeah, randomize it, and then, you know, maybe this one, my computer's freezing sometimes. I think it's because I'm recording, but okay, let me do this and then rotate it. I think I need a little bit more meat here. So let me duplicate it around and see. This is not what a snowstorm looks like, but you know, yeah, exactly. Let me just do the same. Oops, record on. Do the same technique. I'm going 2 frames. Okay, let me just do it a little quick and see what this looks like. It might need a little bit more love, but you know, you get the idea. So I select this, it's all stepped. And if you're in here, it could be like this crazy snowstorm, you know, where it would make more sense with the environment and with some wind gusts and stuff like that. But this is how you can do snowstorms as well. But if you want to animate like regular snow, you would have to do it with animbrush or something like that. Okay, let me cover the last topic, which is impact effects. So this is like really cool. I think I have a thing prepared here. Oh, this guy is still fighting the wind. Look at that. Looks so cool. It's so easy to do. Okay, so I think he's like, pot. right? So he's like punching. So I really did this in like 5 minutes before the class, so like it's not the perfect animation, but it will at least give you an idea of what I'm going to do. So basically this whole animation, I created a hold frame here because I want to have enough time to create impact, right? So it makes sense in a bit when I explain it, what I mean with enough time for the impact. But basically this is like 3 seconds long animation, right? What I'm gonna do on top of that is the effects. So this is the impact effect, right? So I want to go to the point where he punches. Maybe I will just go from here and create a new frame. And then I keep creating new frames until he punches. And then I will fill up the rest. And I will make sure it loops exactly at the same point, right? So this is now important where you use the range, because I don't want to wait until he punches every time, right? So I want to, like, for example, here, I want the impact right here. Okay, let me draw the impact first. So here it's like, let me use the sphere brush. Exactly. Thanks for the help with sound effect. Right, so let me turn the onion skinning on here, and then yeah, okay, boom.
Wow, that's a powerful punch.
Yeah.
Woo! By the
Okay.
way, I've been watching the Legend of Korra in Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
The fights are amazing. The animation,
stuff.
It's crazy.
like the choreography and the impacts and everything they do is really well animated.
I'm gonna die on this hill. There are some low points in that series, but it is generally underrated. There are some real high points.
Yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, that's pretty good, right? Okay, so now I want to enhance the impact. So what I'm gonna do is, like, I'm gonna loop this section. Maybe like this section, and I'm gonna loop it this time. Right? And now I react to his punch.
Oh, you animbrush it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like he's hitting metal or something.
Yeah, or like ding, 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 ding. He has sparks, right? So we can even do sparks, like
This is very similar to what I did with the dinosaur transformation.
Yeah.
So like a boom, one impact, one explosion. So I did animbrush over that little range. So I created that kind of little burst of particles that come in that moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you can use the range to help it,
Yeah.
So cool.
So this is like how you can do like impacts, and maybe I want to enhance this motion blur here, So maybe I start the range here. Ooh. Okay, and now I hit all. Look at that. Oh, what happened?
Freeze frame of the first.
Oh yeah, I have to just remove this.
Nice.
Right. So I think this is basically it. So you can use the range to isolate certain sections, and then you can add particle effects or stuff like this, or sparks here, as I did it here. And it's like super easy to do, and you can do this stuff. You can use animbrush, you can use frame by frame or transform keyframes and stuff to create all these kinds of different things like wind, smoke, steady particles, dust, bubbles, rain, and impact effects.
Hey,
So-
Goro.
Yes.
Sorry, I just want to. Can you just explain a little bit? I think you went a little fast for me on the motion blur. Are you painting forwards, backwards? What are you doing with that?
That was just like the animbrush. If you properly want to do this, I would suggest to do it frame by frame. So I just played it back. Let me play back this section and just animbrushed it. But it's not very accurate. It was just like I would do it for storyboarding and stuff where it's not as important, But if you want to do it properly, do it frame by frame. So if I turn on the range, turn it on longer so you see what I do. So all I did is like the same thing I did for the impact. So I just animate it with the animbrush, right? But the thing is, like, if you want to do it, like, it's much better if you do this stuff frame by frame. So you go frame by frame. Let's see when he punches. Where does he punch? See, I didn't make a mistake here because it's animbrush. The brush strokes should appear when he's punching like this. Boom, 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 boom. You just go frame by frame. It's the same thing. It's just much more accurate this way, So now it looks better. Boom. That's it. Yep. So we're actually almost exactly at 1 hour. Wow, that was awesome. So and actually, I was able to show everything in time. Any questions, guys?
Could you turn on the rain layer so he's punching the rain?
Let's turn on the bubbles. Let's turn on the dust.
Local youth fights rain.
Look at that.
Wow.
And now maybe he's punching the guy.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
He's being blown back by the sheer impact of the punch.
Oh. Oh. so trashy. Oh. Yeah, Street Fighter, right? Oh.
I'm immersed.
Yeah.
It's literally action figures.
Yeah, but this is how you can do particles. Yeah.
Is that a heavy scene?
No, look at that.
Wow.
That's why I called it how to do it efficiently, right? It's not even 100% optimized. If I would optimize the whole scene, let me save it beforehand. If I optimize it, all layers, boom, and let me turn off the range, then you're looking at 100,000 triangles, 11 draw calls. So it's super small. This is like, you have so much room. Look at the memory used, right? So it's like very, very small. Yep, that's about it for today's class. So any more questions?
No, this is great.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time.